Thank you, Dr. Tim. Excellent conversation, and Ellen, we hold you in our heart. That's fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
Have a great show.
Thank you. So welcome to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Monday, February the 22nd, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Give Michael just a moment to get dialed in, and I'll direct you to our website, as I usually do, whyagain.org. Click on the bullseye or the Start Here button. Both of those take you to the same place where you'll find all of the worksheets, audios, videos, lots and lots of information. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart.
Hello, Michael.
Welcome, everybody. Honored that you're here. Ready to enter this conversation one more time about first century Aramaic forgiveness. And I am in the process of driving, so pardon me for my voice being a little distracted. I've just arrived at my destination. So delighted that you're here and moving forward these first century Aramaic ideas. And since I'm driving, Jeanie, I don't have my book with me, so we're not going to be able to read a chapter or a page or two from Why Is This Happening to Me Again?
Okay, well, you've already got a handout.
Well, let's say hello.
Okay, and there's a bad echo, so you might want to do a different connection. Area code 520, you're on the air.
Welcome. Give us a name. Where are you calling from?
Hi.
Oh, it's Audrey. Hey, young lady.
Hi. I'm doing my worksheet, and as I do the process, I'm finding out how much anger is surfacing with me.
Awesome.
And how much I want to control everything. And the words acceptance and allowance were just words. They were concepts, okay? But now it's integrating. And as with being a senior, starting to do this work, okay? Then I look back and I say, which is the first mistake, because you're always in the now. I'm always in the now. But when I forget and I look back and I said, oh my, too bad I didn't start this work when I was much younger. But the point is, I'm doing it right now. But as this anger comes up and the identification and pinpointing, oh, wow, I'm feeling the emotion of anger. I mean, that's the big step. Because before, I wasn't even conscious of the anger. But as I do the worksheets, will it peel off like an onion and it will get easier? Will this process get easier? And for me to let go of my wanting to control things and being acceptance and allowance and trust that the universe, everything is divinely in order. I mean, does it get easier, Michael?
It does get easier, and my offering is, rather than the onion, because onions tend to make us cry, the lotus blossom opens, and layer upon layer will open. And while you say you're now getting conscious of the anger, that means you're getting a step closer to the pain, because anger is just an anesthetic. So as you're touching into the fact that you've been using an anesthetic to cover your pain, the next thing to surface, and it can be a challenge when it does, is to allow and bring forward the pain that's underneath the anger. And the real healing happens as you deal with the pain. So there's never anger where pain is not hiding. And so as you peel those layers, be at peace when pain surfaces, and remember that when pain comes forward, the mind can re-empower pain and make it real again, where the truth is, as you go through a memory of pain, it's a memory of pain. And be careful not to re-empower it, but to realize, oh, this is a memory of pain that I can hold, that I can be loved in the presence of, that I can ask for support in healing, and then go through those layers.
Okay, and the ego has a question. And the ego has a question that, all right, the higher self says everything is in the now. The ego self is saying, well, why are you doing this work? Because the anger that you're feeling was in a relationship, in the past. But then again, when the higher self says, but it is always now, and you're feeling it now. So that's why it needs to be dismantled. Is that correct?
Well, that's somewhat correct. That would be my offering. And what you're really doing is, while we talk about the now, the way the mind operates, we have a past. A lot of people say, oh, don't you ever bring up the past. But the truth is, and that's almost a mantra in many circles in the world. The truth is, if we don't review our past, we're condemned to repeat it. If we're not willing to bring up what we hold as memory that's based in hostility or fear, if we're not willing to review the events that happened in the past and we keep avoiding them, that's just another form of denial.
Okay. Another question. As I do my worksheet on anger, say in a relationship, and when I get done and I'm checking my boxes, I'm agreeing to the willingness, and I circle my level, like when I started my level and when I ended my level, if it's still not within a mild range, do I do the same worksheet over, or is it the same anger, but it is taking a different, it's hiding?
Well, they asked that question of Yeshua 2,000 years ago. How many times do I need to forgive as to my brother? And what Yeshua said, they said is 7 times enough. So obviously they knew they were probably going to do different levels and layers of it. And Yeshua in Aramaic said, no, 77 times 70 times. And what that means is that, let's say, when I was 3 years old, there was a major blowout with my power person. And just, major pain and screaming and raging by the power person absorbed all of this energy. And let's say that trauma was a level 10 trauma. Someone who has a level 10 trauma and doesn't have the tools and does their work, or doesn't do their work, isn't able to do their work, will tend to live a life, will tend to be attracted to things that will keep them in a weakened state so they don't have to deal with what's going on inside. So they'll use drugs, alcohol, junk food. The standard American diet is pretty much nutrition-free and vitality-free. So they drive their vitality down to a level 7, a level 6, a level 5. Somebody's at a level 4, and all of a sudden this issue starts to surface. They can only process to a level 4 with that issue. When they get to a level, and they'll say, oh, well, now see, I've processed it, I'm finished with that. And then they'll get to a level 5 vitality, and they'll go, oh, my God, there it is again. I thought I was finished with that. And then they'll get to a level 6, and it'll be another layer of it. It's like, oh, I thought I was going to get to a 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. It's not till we get to full vitality that we can reach into depth. There's an automatic shutdown mechanism in the system so that, literally, if we were at a level 4 vitality and a level 10 issue were to surface, then that level 7 vitality, that level 10 issue, if the toxicity of that were to release within the structure, it could literally kill us. So there's this automatic shutdown mechanism, and so you'll tend to revisit, and oftentimes it will literally take years to get to a full-blown 10 vitality to be able to handle a level 10 trauma that happened, decades ago. So it is a process, yes.
All right, because this is involving a friendship with a friend, a female friend of mine, and it's my judgmentalism and my wanting to control, and I have judged her as not being self-responsible. And what I find within myself, realizing that this has happened in other relationships, in friends, because what I tend to do is I tend to be over-responsible for other people's responsibilities, thereby denying both of us the sense of balance and being responsible for our responsibility.
Well, and that would be another worksheet in going inside yourself and forgiving, removing these thought disorders that have you being over-responsible. And that would oftentimes look, for instance, probably like something like a child who has a power person that lives in total denial, usually a parent, and is always blaming the child. So, you're the reason I'm angry. You're the reason. Look how mad you've made me. And the child is trying to fix the power person, but there's no fixing the power person. And the child moves into this place, well, I guess I'm responsible for everything. And that's a major thought disorder to be forgiven.
Right. Well, I'm willing to do the work, and that's all I'm responsible for at this time is my willingness.
Well, I support you in that willingness and appreciate and honor it. That's awesome.
Thank you. Blessings.
Great progress, young lady.
Thank you. Blessings.
All right. Take care. Lots of love.
Okay.
All right.
We have another hand.
Oh, great.
Area code 843. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Yes, hi. This is Grace.
Welcome, young
I'm
lady.
at a level 5. Hi, guys. I hope you guys are doing well.
We are.
I'm at a level 5 in pain. A level 5 in pain, but it's just gnawing. But it got down to a level 5 from a 10 with some EFT that Dr. Tim Hayes had mentioned, and I decided to try. But awesome. I can understand what Audrey's saying, because it's like I spoke to Jeanie Saturday, and my communication is just, I'm having issues with my communication, because to me it seems like a lot of statements that I say, I have like tons of variables just with that statement, and that can be misunderstood so easily. And I just got so many intense things going on that I haven't even done a worksheet since, because I don't know where to start. I have too many things, I created so much intensity in my life, and I'm just trying to sort it out, and I don't know which sheet to start on first, and I'm just I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
I'm overwhelmed.
And overwhelm tends to lead us to avoidance. So my offering would be that your first worksheet would be to cancel the goal, to be able to even know where to start, and to allow your mind to process its confusion.
Okay, because I remember yesterday I heard an audio that you had when you had a lower back pain, and you were saying not to give the pain that attention because it could turn into something else. And yesterday, as I was reading what I'm supposed to do from Jeannie's email, I had shockwaves of intensities of level 10s, and now my head is spinning, and I'm like, how do I ignore this? I heard Dr. Michael saying not to give it that attention.
We're not suggesting you ignore it. We're suggesting you step into the space where you embrace it, where, in step 4 in the worksheet, you connect to active present love, And as you connect to active present love, those trauma energies tend to dissolve. So instead of ignoring it, instead of turning it away, and the reason why it's I'd offer most likely that it's the level of intensity that it is now is because you've been turning away from it. You've been avoiding it. And now the idea in healing is to turn toward, and you don't have to do it all at once, but just embrace one little piece of the puzzle at a time, one little piece of the puzzle at a time, until those energetic dynamics quiet down, and then you can go into deeper levels of work. But there's the starting point, to allow yourself to be with it. And again, a simple worksheet, I want this to be easy, might be a good worksheet to start with. And so there can be many goals that are involved, and to start letting go of those goals. And when you do, the perceptions that create the confusion will tend to collapse. And as they do, you'll get to process. And in this work, we define processing as the ability to keep love conscious, active, and present when something less than love comes up. So you get to process through those layers.
So you're saying to start with what I'm feeling right now, not what I felt in the past with my power person?
Exactly. So right now,
okay.
If I'm in overwhelm, I want this process to be comfortable. So the first goal that you might want to look at collapsing would be the goal for things to be comfortable.
Okay.
And let yourself process through that. And if you look at the fact that overwhelm is coming up, remember that when you were in the middle of your muddle, when the events were happening big time, notice there was overwhelm. And so you're going to need to step into the space where you get comfortable with and are able to embrace and love that overwhelm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Honored and delighted. But I dig in, even with the simplest worksheets. It's like the journey of 1,000 miles, they say, starts with the first step. So just go ahead and do the first step. And, there's an old adage that says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You take what's in front of you right now, overwhelm, sadness, grief, rage, whatever it happens to be, and you don't have to reach back into the past. The idea of this work is, that you are the presence of love, and you want to walk forward in your life as love. You don't have to search for the deep, dark, nasty thing that happened to you. All you have to do is walk forward as the presence of love. Life will deliver the circumstances that will resonate your next piece of work. And if you just deal with what life delivers now, and in this case, life's delivering to you the opportunity to step in and do some forgiveness work. But if you try to take on all of your past, your mind will just quit. It'll say, I can't do this. If I just take this one.
So how many sheets is appropriate to start with daily?
What fits for you in your life, I usually suggest to people that they start out doing 5 worksheets a day. And, some people will sit over a worksheet and mull over it and spend 2 hours on it and say, well, I'd have to spend 10 hours a day if I did 5 worksheets a day. We're not suggesting you spend 2 hours and mull over a worksheet. You can literally do a worksheet in 10 minutes. You don't have to spend longer than 10 minutes. And you don't have to go into the deepest, darkest parts of any given worksheet. You're better off to do 5 10-minute worksheets than 1 2-hour worksheet.
Okay. Because I don't want to storm, or I don't want to do too much, and then and that wouldn't be appropriate, I would think.
Right. Just pace yourself in a way that you can handle it, but step in and do something with it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Honored and delighted. Thank you for the questions. Anything else on your mind?
Yes. How do I separate the difference between my personality type and the worksheets and what's going on in my life? Let's say my thought process is really deep, and how do I learn to separate these things and know because I didn't used to believe in personality types. I read Carl Jung when I was a teenager, and he came out with the archetypes, and I just couldn't grasp it, and thinking that everybody has different experiences in their life when they grow up, which creates their personality, who they are today. And now when Myers-Briggs expanded on Carl Jung's archetypes, it's showing me that he was correct. It was true what he's saying. And my thought process is too deep, and it's just different than all the other personality types, which makes it difficult for me to communicate with others. So I'm creating now in my environment also a communication issue, because when I went to the doctors, they didn't set my foot right. They set it crooked, and now, how do I know to tell the difference between this communication and my personality type, the misunderstandings and my personality type?
Yeah, my offering would be that, in our codependence to interdependence work, we put forward what I call the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind. When we're functioning out of hostility and fear, we're functioning out of a personality. And personality is a Greek word that means mask. So I wouldn't give a whole lot of attention to the mask. Understanding your particular mask can be of some help, but it leads to what I call the number one pseudo solution of the non-being mind. And that is, if I could just figure this out. I promise you, you can sit around and try to figure this out for the next 50 years, and healing won't happen. However, if you do your first worksheet, and then your second worksheet, and your third worksheet, healing will happen. Figuring out is the booby prize. I'd invite you to give up figuring it out, jump in. What's the goal that's driving my perceptual mind to produce this pained reality? Now I'm going to cancel that goal. I'm going to let this pained reality collapse in on itself, and I'm going to reach into the depths of my mind and capture whatever of the underlying dynamic there is and bring it forward in the presence of love. And if I keep doing that, it will lead to the dissolution of personality. Yeshua said, in order for you to live, you've got to die. What he was saying is the non-being mind has to go. The personality has to be removed. And then there's being. Then there's who we are. And you want to bring that full-fledged into your form and into your life. So I'd let go of the need to figure it out.
Got it.
Cool.
Blessings. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are most welcome. Most welcome. Thank you for the questions. So have a blessed day. All right. Well, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else on the phone queue with a hand up? Is Aria Rain sleeping?
She's down for a nap, yes.
Oh, well, that's good. Cool.
So 563-999-3581.
If you're out there in listener land and you're on one of those stations we can't see in our control panel, if you dial that number, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you push 1, we'll be having a personal conversation. And we've got lots of time left for questions. Oftentimes people leave things to the last minute, and then they're disturbed because they don't get into the queue in time. So now's the time to push 1. Let's have a conversation. How can we support you? And we just covered in those 2 short conversations some pretty deep ideas around the principles of this work. And oftentimes, as we address things like that, the mind comes up with so many questions, but sometimes it wants to step away and not engage in those questions. So, if I'd been in your hometown on your local church's platform or libraries or prison or university or whatever, and had the conversation I just had with people and was stepping down off the platform, what would you come over and ask me about the conversation that I just had with the 2 folks we talked with? What would you need clarification of? And the reason for the show is to provide that clarification for you and for me. I'm blessed in that I get to engage in all kinds of people's questions, and sometimes those questions lead in directions I've never thought of going before. So it opens a whole space for me to investigate and to perhaps do some of my work and offer the support for the healing process. So if you're out there in listener land, if you were in the audience and I had just stepped off the stage, you'd be walking over to me, what would you be saying? And we'd like to hear that. If you push 1, we'll be having a conversation. Nobody's going to put their hand up. They're going to hold off till the last 2 minutes. Well, in that case,
we have a hand up.
oh, great. Let's say hello.
610. Is this Susan or Tim?
It's Tim. Hello. Are you there?
Hey, Michael.
Welcome, young man.
There's a lot of feedback on the line. I guess I can keep talking. Now. Okay. I was doing a worksheet this morning about needing to drive to FedEx to send off a package and being anxious about it. And I came to the same goals, which is I wanted to be a little boy and be taken care of in a loving way, which is a goal that I've had in many of the worksheets that I'm doing. And I've canceled the goal as best I can when I was doing the worksheet. And then when I got out on the road, the anxiety came right back again. So what I'm trying to do is figure out if I cancel that goal of wanting to be a little boy and be taken care of, why that canceling doesn't take. Or is
well, if you look at Tim, at the depth of that desire and how long it's been going on, that is probably one of your 77 times 70 worksheet issues.
Right, it is.
And so you just move through layer by layer by layer, and it exposes, as you become more vital, it exposes deeper and deeper parts of the hidden mind.
So I should just keep going with the worksheets, although they come up with the same goals, and
yeah, again, you may be that goal many, many times. So then what you just did is you touched into what we call a Hydra worksheet. And if you remember, the Hydra was the creature in Greek mythology that if you chopped her head off, a dozen other heads appeared. So it sounds like your next worksheet, once you've completed that one and you realize, gee, the same goal is still there and I've got frustration, then I'd be doing a worksheet around my frustration. So in number 1B, I'd be putting frustration. And what's my goal that I'm is driving frustration in me? Well, I just want to be done with this. Okay, so now I'm going to cancel my goal to be done with this. And I'm going to embrace the next level and every level and every layer of my process.
Okay. Now, that's the next worksheet is frustration.
Yeah, and then I complete that one, and the next worksheet, the next layer that comes up is, is this ever going to end? I want this to end. That would be a different flavor worksheet, and each subtle goal, each subtle idea recruits through resonance a whole different part of the mind into activity. And so you want to just pay attention to the goals that you hold that recruit pained parts of your mind into activity and allow yourself to move through those layers.
So on the frustration worksheet, what would be the thoughts that cause the emotional upset? just write down that I've done worksheet after worksheet and come up with the same result? Would that be a valid thought?
Yeah, there might be many different ones. There might be I want to be done with this. You know, when is this ever going to end? What might surface is, you know, somebody's frustration from 2 generations back that was in the same space. So, you know, it can go anywhere that a mind can go with a particular thought.
What are some examples of thoughts that come up frequently in worksheets? I have trouble thinking of the appropriate thought.
You know, as you do that one around frustration about not being taken care of as a kid, then, you know, the thought disorder that might be in the mind that needs to be uncovered and deleted or removed through forgiveness might be, I'm not deserving of being taken care of. Or it might be, I'm not good enough. The message either given, you know, by a power person or implied, taken in by the mind might be, well, I'm just not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I don't deserve, or I should have been different. I should have been this way. I should have been that way. You know, oftentimes, especially with women, we'll run into, you know, you should have been a boy, and therefore you're not worthy. And so every shade of that kind of thought disorder needs to be surfaced in the presence of love in order for its impact to be disappeared. Now, you remember in the Aramaic, they understood the unconscious totally and completely, and they had a suffix that they added to any word, and the suffix is O-O-T-A, uta. And if they added uta to a word, what that meant was that there was something firing, brain cells firing in the unconscious that were impacting perceptions, decisions, and behaviors. And so the removal of those perceptions, decisions, and behaviors, you know, the root of those things is the process of forgiveness. And again, 77 times 70 might be the order of the day.
So a thought could be, I was a klutz. I should have been better. That's an example of a
so if you've
thought.
got that kind of judgment of yourself, yes.
Okay. So the thought.
So that would be a thought disorder that maybe was fed to you by your power person, or maybe you just made up for yourself. And usually making it up for yourself means it's a generational pattern.
It was both. It was both made up. It was given to me by my power person, but I also think it was generational as well.
Then it will be a deeper, more searching process that you'll enter into to really uproot it fully and be finished with it. So it sounds to me like you're right on track, and you're inquiring and you're looking at deeper and deeper levels.
Yeah.
And you'll probably notice that, you know, and I know this is an issue you've been working on for a long time, since we, you know, first became acquainted a couple of years ago. You'll notice that when this issue came up a couple of years ago, you know, if you were to assess what your level of upset was, let's say 2 years ago around this issue, what, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would your upset have been 2 years ago?
Like an 8.
And what is it today?
5 or 6.
So you're moving through it, you're making progress, and, you know, it's just a matter of patience and to keep moving through it, you know, especially when you're dealing with something that's literally in the genes, to open the space and to develop the skill to reach in and remove that stuff. You know, it's like if you've ever played pickup sticks. Remember the game of pickup sticks where you have a bunch of sticks and you drop them and you have to try to get certain colors or whatever it is? Well, what you're doing is developing the skill of going into your own mind at the deepest levels, including right into the genes, and literally, oh, there's that yellow stick. I need to get that out. How am I going to get it out of there? And it's a skill that you develop over time to be able to remove those things. And if you've gone from an 8 to a 5, that's pretty good progress in 2 years when you look at how long it's been going on in the bloodline and how long in your life.
That's a thought in most of my worksheets, is that I'm a klutz. I'm a physical klutz. And I suppose that could be put down as a thought on many of my worksheets.
How about a mind shifter?
Okay. I'm going to pass. I've got to get a pencil now. Okay. Fire away.
I, comma.
Yeah.
My father.
Yeah.
And everyone in my life, comma,
Yeah.
including myself.
Yeah.
Embraces and cherishes me. Even when I'm a total klutz. Even when I'm a total klutz.
Okay.
So what's the first thought that comes up when you look at that statement?
Father got annoyed when I was a klutz. It wasn't true. My father didn't embrace me. He was critical and angry.
So that's the first thing to go on the right side of the page for that mind shifter.
Yeah.
And just let yourself, seeing as how this is such a deep issue, I would set aside a space of 3 or 4 hours and just write on that. And let everything in your mind resonate around having been a klutz or being treated like a klutz. Let all of that flow out, brain dump on the right-hand side of the page. And then go back and start looking through it for what are some specific ways you can use the tools to clean that up in your mind.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. That gives me my work to do.
Awesome, and delighted to be on the team and admiring of you, ready and willing to do your work.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, we have a blessed day. Give that young lady a hug for us, too.
She was on earlier, and she's actually was in the car driving her grand puppy to the vet. So.
I hope grandpuppy's okay.
We have 20 minutes.
Minutes for conversation. Here we are. How can we support you? What's on your mind? Our call-in number, again, if you're on one of those stations where you can't see us, or we can't see you in our control panel, the number is 563-999-3581. You call that number, you'll be listening to the show on your phone, and then if you push 1, you have a question for us, we'll be having a conversation, and we want to have a conversation with you. The whole idea of this show is to open up the subtlest points of this process, moving out of the belief systems of what we call the non-being mind, all the thought disorders of blame and sadness and grief and loss and rage and fear, to move out of and become free of those things, and to really incarnate, to really embody the truth of who we are in our physiology, in our emotional and mental bodies, to really incarnate that true state of being is the objective of this work. And when you look at the complexities, the number one attribute of this non-being mind is inertia. And if you remember from physics class in high school, the definition of inertia was a body moving in a particular direction at a particular rate of speed will tend to continue to move in that direction at that rate of speed until it's acted upon by an outside force. The outside force is your being. The outside force is yourself. And as you wake up to that, then you start to shift and move the inertia-bound mind. And remember that the data that's running in the inertia-bound mind has been going on for eons of time. And when they said in the ancient Aramaic, the sins of the father will be passed, yea, into 3 and 4 generations, that wasn't some kind of you're going to get punished for what your parents did or their parents or their parents. And, the word sin, if you remember in Aramaic, is an archery term. It simply means off the mark. So the energetic patterns that are off the mark that we engage in literally are stored holographically in every cell of our structure, including the sperm and the egg. So were you to conceive a child tomorrow, that child would have in its structure, literally, every thought you've ever thought, every feeling you've ever felt, every reality you've ever engaged in. These become generational patterns. And the massive amount of data, when you start looking at, if you go back 4 generations, that's just 31 lives, including yourself. Did anybody ever tell you that you had every thought and every feeling and every perceptual construct of the 31 or the 30 lives that went before you in your bloodline, mom and dad, and mom and dad's mom and dad, and their moms and dads, and theirs, that it's all structured in there. And it's when you begin to open up, embrace, and process those parts of your mind that healing happens. And of course, then you can extend it to, well, where did the 4th generation back get their patterns? Where did it start for them? And when I realized where it all started and the massive amount of data, if you go back just 30 generations, I've sat down, pen and paper, and in 30 generations, there are over 1.6 billion lives in your bloodline. That's a lot of inertia. And, you're changing that. I use the analogy of, the captain of the battleship that's going full speed east says, oh, we need to turn around and go west. It's going to take hours for that battleship to turn around because of its inertia. They're going to have full throttle, full rudder. They're going to work hard to get that battleship, number one, to slow down, stop enough to turn around, and then start back up again. That's a monstrous amount of inertia. And so it is with this non-being mind. And so developing the patience that, it's going to be a process. It's going to take time. The ancients said, you can't storm the gates. And what they were saying is, when you realize, the ship could be going the other way, you can't, in an instant, pick it up and turn it around. You can't storm the gates. You have to engage in your process. You have to engage in your work. And, the non-being mind is used to instant gratification. I want it now. You're not going to get it now. If you're going to start this work, you're not going to get it now. It's going to take time. And when I say time, when you're changing literally the ingrained mental and emotional patterns of 1.6 billion people, it doesn't happen overnight. In fact, my offering is that in observing over the years, before somebody really truly comprehends what's moving, it takes between 5 and 10 years to really get out of the inertia-bound patterns. The most common game in the world is the blame game. You made me mad. You made me sad. You made me afraid. And people will even say, well, I know this is mine, but you still did that. And so when you realize that, you become gentle with yourself and you allow yourself to go through stages of embracing these hidden inertia-bound dynamics, changing them. And you have patience. It requires patience to do it. People who are impatient won't do this work because it is a process that takes time. And so as you develop patience, it gets easier and easier to go, boy, I sure wish I were, that one's been going on for such a long time. That one's been so painful. And I realize I'm not done with it yet. So I'm willing to keep moving forward and do the next piece of my work till that opens. And I say that from personal experience. I've been doing this work for almost 50 years. I'm actually down here in Sarasota, Florida, with a friend of mine who's a physician. I'm actually sitting with a needle in my arm getting an ozone treatment. We've been doing just a lot of healing work, a lot of really super deep processing. I mean, I've moved in this interchange with this support into a whole different level of my own personal work. And, and I'm not done yet, and I don't know anybody that is. But when you realize the enormity of the task, you develop some patience for it. And so we're here to encourage and support the continued movement. If people will ask many, many questions about, well, how do I do this and how do I do that? And, this conversation with this show has been going on for 10 years. We're in our 11th year now. So 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, for over 10 years, we've been having this conversation about first century Aramaic forgiveness. And whatever your question is, if you went back to the first hour of the first show and the second and the third and all the way through to today, I would say nothing else but answers to your question. I would present nothing else. Because it's really a matter of all of the above. How am I going to get out of hell, the self-created hells of hostility or fear, into heaven, living as the active presence of love? Yeshua said, if somebody tells you that the kingdom's over there or over there or over there, believe them not, for it is within you. It is here and now. And everybody wants to be in that space of, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm willing to live there 24/7, 365 from today forward. And into that conversation they carry generations and generations and generations of unresolved rage and fear and hatred and vengeance and gossip and slander and condemnations. It's a process. And we're continuing this conversation, and we'll continue it for eternity in order to support people who are ready to move to that place and start to face their inertia-bound dynamics and clean it up. So that's what we'd be here to do, and we've got about 12 minutes left. So if you're out there in listener land, push one. Let's have a conversation. Jeanie, we have anybody in the chat room with a hand up?
We do.
Or pardon me.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We do. Area code 760, you're on the air.
Hey there, it's Ann in Florida as well. Hey, okay, so I was reviewing my, I keep a journal of the radio shows and notes on that, and so back in January, I was looking through because you had given me do an inventory of every negative thought that I, in the last year, and that starts my list of wake-up sheets. And so anyway, I came back to that a few days ago, evidently, and I wrote down in red and a star. So this is what I wanted to ask, and I was kind of reviewing it so I could pose my question here. What I've discovered is in my negative thought, even though it's subtle, and you talk about that a lot, we can do some of the deeper stuff, and then all of a sudden there's this stuff that comes up that's just subtle, and you think, oh, it's not that bad. And yet I found myself saying this a lot, and I'm getting better, but I'm not really canceling the goal. So that's going to be my question. I will say, like, if I'm shown something or I find something myself, I think I should have known, I'll say, duh, D-U-H, I'm going to spell it. But I know I grew up with it. I know I've been around it. But so what I wrote, the thought behind that expression is, oh, I should have known better, or I should have seen it, sooner, or so.
Or
the
you're
goal
stupid.
I want to cancel is both of those. I mean, two separate wake-up sheets.
Yeah, if you see, remember that the mind works by resonance. If I say don't think about the color of your car, what moves in your mind through resonance is the color of your car. When I load a goal, let's say in this circumstance where I say dot to myself, I load a goal. What was the goal that brought forward the dot? Oh, I should have known better. So I cancel my goal to know better, and then I drop into the part of my mind, my file on knowing better. And then it would be a totally different worksheet and a totally different goal. Oh, I should be smarter than that was the goal around the da. So then I cancel my need to be smarter than that. Or maybe the da was...
Are you there?
Michael, you just disappeared.
Oh, it's him. Oh, good. I thought it was my phone.
And it looks like his phone just totally dropped, so give him just a minute to dial back in there.
Excuse me, I lost my connection.
Well, I thought it was mine, so I'm glad it wasn't mine this time.
No, that was me.
Okay.
So as I allow myself to go to depth, there may be many thoughts that produce that da response that have a meaning that my mind holds for it. And when I cancel that specific goal, I get to go in and clean out that specific part of my files in the mind. And each shade of goal reflects a different file and different content that needs to be cleaned up. You know, when you start to realize that perception is a construct of the mind. Literally, when I look out and I see a dog, or I see a window, or I see a TV, or I see a painting, I've built the brain cells for that, and my mind can generate that perceptual construct. But when you start realizing, I mean, the deep detail that perception gives us, then you realize that the massive number of brain cells that fire in order for you to see what you think you're seeing is a whole world out there is monumental. And when you realize how monumental it is, then you realize that everything in the inertia-bound mind that's based in hostility and fear literally needs to be removed, needs to be forgiven. And so it's a pretty big piece of work to do. Right, John? Because amen.
Okay, so, yeah. So it's still, so this would probably be based in anger. Is it like a subtle anger at myself then, isn't it? Did we lose him again?
Would
No,
that
Michael,
be that would be a subtle judgment of self, and maybe a judgment that was taken on from a power person. So it might lead to a worksheet with a power person, and that worksheet might look like, gee, I just want to be accepted and approved of by my power person.
Yeah.
That would all tie, all those underlying brain cells would tie into creating this literal picture of you as a body with certain deficiencies that don't exist except as frequencies in the mind which can be removed.
Right. Okay. Okay, and that would go back to name calling of my physical appearance or accusations from stepfather. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Blessings.
Hey, honored and delighted. Thank you. Thanks for opening the conversation.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care, you guys.
All right. Take care. Blessings. So, Ms. Jeanie, we've got about 5 minutes left. Do we have anybody out there with a hand up in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is quiet on this end.
Well, then it's time for somebody to open another conversation. If you do that by pushing one. And what's going on for you? How can we support you? Is there a question? Is there some support that's needed in the process you're engaged in using these tools? Our purpose in doing this 5 days a week is to be here for support, so that the conversation of the world, generally speaking, is based in so much craziness, so much stuff based in hostility and fear and rage and gossip and just all that garbage. And so what we choose to do with this show is to create one space where every day, at least 5 days a week, you have the opportunity to tap into a conversation that's based in sanity and healing. And of course, you can tap in on Saturday and Sundays as well by going back through the archives. We've got, I don't even know, over 3,000 hours in our archives. And so there's plenty of information to draw on to support you in your process. And then, of course, the live show each day to help to move forward the next layer, the next piece of your puzzle. So if you're out there puzzling over a question or a thought, or need support in a worksheet, then if you push 1, we've got about 4 minutes for conversation. And all is quiet. Well, anything on your mind, Jeanie? Anything you might share?
I think what I've been processing lately is going to take more than 3 minutes, which is what we have left.
Okay. Well, I'll be home soon, and we'll process all we need to.
All right. I did send you an email if you'll catch it sometime when you can there.
Okay. I will do that. I haven't looked at my email today so far. We've been on go.
And thank you to John for supporting you and you supporting him.
Yeah, it's really been a powerful week and a half. It's been really profoundly impactful on my process. And, John and I have known each other for 25 years, and we've just created a whole different level of connectedness and relationship and support that's really, so valuable, just so valuable. And John, with all of his medical knowledge, has just, provided his focal point is quote unquote physical medicine, and one of the things he's working on is integrating more of the forgiveness process and the mental spiritual aspect into his practice. So I've been kind of offering what I know in that arena, and he's been just really awesome about providing all kinds. I'm sitting here with this IV in my arm, and I've done so many different supplements and so many different procedures. It's just been amazing. And so this morning we were at it at 8 o'clock in the morning, sitting in a hot plunge device, and then moving from 105-degree water into 40-degree water, plunging into ice-cold water. It's like, John, I'm not sure, but it's actually pretty powerful to do that. So he has all of the gadgets and modalities of healing on a physiological level. And so he's been mentoring me in that arena as well. So it's been pretty powerful. And we are down to the last minute or so I'm going to just say that I appreciate everybody who plays with us in this arena of forgiveness. And the whole